Hello everyone, welcome to my video lesson. I hope you are doing well. In this lesson, we will study reasoning and proof, particularly if and then statement. So after studying this lesson, you should be able to identify the hypothesis and conclusion in an if and then or what we call conditional statement, understand the reasonableness of the agreement about the condition under P then Q which is true, and write the converse of an if and then statement. Rico promises that if he has a 500 peso bill, he will treat you for dinner. Kung meron daw si Rico na pera na 500 pesos, ililibre ka raw niya ng dinner. So, which statement is not reasonable? First statement, Rico has 500 peso bill and treats you for dinner. Meron siyang 500 peso bill, kaya nilibre ka niya ng dinner. Is that reasonable? Number 2, Rico has 500 peso bill and he did not treat you for dinner. Si Rico merong 500 peso bill pero hindi kanya nilibre. Is that reasonable? Number 3, Rico has no 500 peso bill but still treat you for dinner. Si Rico wala siyang 500 peso bill pero nilibre ka pa rin niya ng dinner. Is that reasonable? Number 4, Rico has no 500 peso bill and he did not treat you for dinner. Si Rico walang 500 peso bill kaya hindi ka rin niya nilibre ng dinner. Is that reasonable? Let's find out which is reasonable using truth table. In logic, the symbol P and Q represent statements. The compound statement, if P then Q, is a conditional statement expressed by P then Q. In the statement, P is what we call hypothesis and Q is conclusion. So here is the truth table. As you can see, P, again, that is the hypothesis, Q is the conclusion, and P then Q, this is the statement, conditional statement. Okay, so in the truth table, according to truth table, if P or the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is also true, the statement is true. If P is true and Q is false, the statement is false. If P is false and Q is true, the statement is true. And if P is false and Q is false, the statement is true. Ang gusto nating mapansin dito sa truth table, kapag ang hypothesis ng statement ay tama, pero ang conclusion ay mali, ang statement ay nagiging false. Yan po ang ating tatandaan. So let's go back to the situation before. So Rico promises that if he has a 500 peso bill, he will treat you for dinner. So nangako si Rico. So alin dito sa mga statement na ito ang napako yung kanyang pangako? That means the statement is not reasonable. Is it number 1? Rico has a 500 peso bill and treats you for dinner. If we are going to examine, the hypothesis is true. The conclusion is also true. According to the truth table, the statement is true. Okay? That means, dito, hindi napako ang kanyang pangako ni Rico. Next, number 2. Rico has 500 peso bill and he did not treat you for dinner. The hypothesis is true, but the conclusion is false. According to the truth table, the statement is false. The third statement, Rico has no 500 peso bill, so thus the hypothesis is false, but still treat you for dinner. The conclusion is true. According to truth table, the statement is still true. And last statement, Rico has no 500 peso bill and he did not treat you for dinner. So yung hypothesis is false at yung conclusion ay false. According to truth table, the statement is true. So, which statement is not reasonable? So, the answer is statement number 2. Remember, in truth table, only if the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false, the statement will become or will be false. Let's have another example. Suppose that Ed has exactly $52 in his wallet. Let's identify the following statement, whether it is reasonable or not, by using this truth table. So the first statement, if Ed has exactly $52 in his wallet, which is true, then he has $20 in his wallet, and that is also true. That means this statement is true. If Ed has exactly $52 in his wallet, that statement is true. Then he has $100 in his wallet. The conclusion is false because Ed has only exactly $52 in his wallet. Therefore, the statement is false. If Ed has $100 in his wallet, the hypothesis is false. Then he has at least $50 in his wallet. So the conclusion is true because he has $52. Therefore, based on the truth table, the statement is true regardless of how much money he has in his wallet. And if Ed has $100 in his wallet, the hypothesis is false. He has at least $80 in his wallet. The conclusion is false because Ed's money is exactly $52. Then, based on the truth values, the statement is true regardless of how much money he has in his wallet. Now, let's move to the converse of the conditional statement. So what is this converse? The statement if P then Q is the conditional statement. This is the original conditional statement. The converse of the conditional statement is if Q then P, or in symbol, Q then P. In other words, it is created when hypothesis and conclusion are reversed. So let's have an example here. If it rains heavily, then classes are suspended. This is original conditional statement. So the hypothesis in the conditional statement is if it rains heavily. While the conclusion, then the classes are suspended. So if we are going to converse this conditional statement, we say if the classes are suspended, then it rains heavily. Okay, so let's have another example. If a point lies on a line, then the line contains the point. As you can see, the hypothesis here is underlined once, while the conclusion is underlined twice. So if we are going to make the converse of this conditional statement, we say, if the line contains a point, then the point lies on the line. Now, let's test your understanding. Suppose I say if it is not raining, then Daisy is riding her bike. Question: which of the four possible statements is false? Is it A, it is not raining and Daisy is riding her bike? B, it is not raining and Daisy is not riding her bike? C, it is raining and Daisy is riding her bike? D, it is raining and Daisy is not riding her bike? If your answer is letter B, you are correct. Why? As you can see, the hypothesis here is true, but the conclusion is false. Based on the truth values, only if the hypothesis is true and the conclusion is false, the statement is false. Therefore, this statement, it is not raining and Daisy is not riding her bike, is a false statement. Now let's test your understanding. Write the following statement in the if and then form. Angles with the same measure are congruent. If your answer is, if angles have the same measure, then the angles are congruent, you are correct. Let's have another number. Two lines intersect at a point. If your answer is, if two lines intersect, then it intersect at a point. And you are correct. Okay, so give the converse of the following statement. If Cliff is thirsty, then she drinks water. If your answer is, if Cliff drinks water, then she is thirsty, you are correct. Another example, if a shape is closed, then it is polygon. If your answer is, if it is polygon, then the shape is closed, and you are correct. Okay, so this is your day 3 activity. Please copy and answer in your notebook. Instruction here, give 4 possible statements based on truth table and identify whether the possible statement is true or false. For day 4 activity, copy and answer this in your notebook. Just underline once the hypothesis, underline twice the conclusion. Then give its converse. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you. God bless. See you next time. Have a good